Mercedes has been working on their 2026 Challenger for years, and the anticipation surrounding this car is unlike anything we've seen in recent memory. Multiple insiders, rival team principals, and even former world champions are pointing to the Silver Arrows as the team to beat when the new regulations kick in. So, let's dive into everything we know about the W7. The car is officially called the Mercedes-AMG F1 W7E Performance. That name tells you something important right away. The E-Performance badge signifies the enhanced electrical component of the new power unit regulations. For 2026, the split between combustion engine power and electrical power is 50/50. That's a massive shift from the current generation, where the internal combustion engine does most of the heavy lifting. Mercedes has been preparing for this moment since the regulations were first announced. While other teams were still fighting for championships with the current cars, Mercedes quietly redirected significant resources toward 2026 development. Toto Wolff admitted that the team made a conscious decision to sacrifice performance in recent seasons to get a head start on the new era. That gamble is about to be tested. The power unit coming out of Brixworth has been described by insiders as the smoothest development program of any manufacturer. While Ferrari reportedly struggled with late design changes and Honda admitted to reliability concerns, Mercedes engineers have been methodically working through their development targets. Johnny Herbert, the former Formula One driver turned pundit, did mention that Mercedes experienced some starting issues with the power unit during early testing, but those appear to have been resolved. Here's where things get really interesting, and I genuinely want to know your take on this. Given everything we're hearing about Mercedes having a potential advantage, do you think Formula One should have done more to prevent one manufacturer from dominating another era? Or is this simply the reward for superior engineering? Now, let's talk about the controversial element that has the entire paddock buzzing, the compression ratio situation. Mercedes engineers discovered a way to exploit the regulations regarding engine compression ratios. The rules state that the compression ratio must not exceed 18:1. The FIA measures this when the engine is cold and stationary, but Mercedes designed their connecting rods to expand when the engine reaches operating temperature. This thermal expansion pushes the piston higher in the cylinder, effectively increasing the compression ratio beyond what was measured at rest. The result is estimated to be somewhere between 10 and 15 additional horsepower. That might not sound like much, but in Formula One terms, it translates to roughly a quarter of a second per lap. Over a race distance, that advantage compounds significantly. Ferrari, Honda, and Audi have all complained to the FIA about this innovation. They argue it violates the spirit of the regulations, even if it technically complies with the letter. The FIA held a meeting with all manufacturers to discuss the situation, but no ban has been announced. Mercedes was transparent with the governing body from the beginning, which makes any retroactive punishment extremely difficult. Red Bull appears to have something similar in their power unit, likely developed by engineers who previously worked at Mercedes, but sources suggest Red Bull's version isn't as advanced, meaning Mercedes could still hold an advantage even among teams exploiting this loophole. The chassis side of the equation is equally important. Mercedes learned painful lessons from the 2022 regulation change, when they completely missed the mark with their ground effect concept. The team suffered through their worst season in the hybrid era, struggling with porpoising and a fundamental lack of downforce. That experience has shaped their approach to 2026. Toto Wolff has spoken about the extensive simulator work conducted with the new car. He described the experience as fascinating, particularly regarding how drivers will need to manage energy deployment throughout each lap. The active aerodynamic system, which allows the rear wing to adjust during the lap, adds another layer of complexity. Drivers will have more control over their car's configuration than ever before, and Wolff believes driver intelligence will become a more significant differentiating factor. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's motorsport advisor, made a telling comment recently. When asked who he fears most heading into 2026, he said he's afraid it will be someone using the Mercedes engine. It suggests even their internal data points toward Mercedes having a significant power unit advantage. The customer teams running Mercedes Power seem to confirm this optimism. James Vowles at Williams praised the work done at Brixworth, calling it an exceptional job. Carlos Sainz has reportedly been very positive about what he's experienced. Pierre Gasly at Alpine, another Mercedes customer for 2026, has echoed similar sentiments. When you add it all up, 8 of the 20 cars on the grid will run Mercedes Power. That's 4 teams benefiting from whatever advantages Mercedes has developed. If the power unit is genuinely superior, we could see Mercedes-powered cars dominating the front of the grid. But there are reasons for caution too. Mercedes got 2022 spectacularly wrong, despite years of preparation. The regulations for 2026 are even more complex, with the interaction between active aerodynamics and the new power units creating countless variables. Battery depletion management will be critical, and nobody knows for certain which team has solved that puzzle most effectively. Wolff himself maintains a cautious outlook. He's famous for saying the glass is always half empty in his world. Even when presented with positive data, he looks for potential problems. That mentality has served Mercedes well over the years, preventing complacency from creeping into the organization. The car will be officially revealed on February 2nd at a launch event, but the real answers come at Barcelona testing and ultimately at the first race in Melbourne. What we can say with confidence is that Mercedes has invested heavily in this regulation change. They've assembled a strong technical team, developed an innovative power unit, and learned from their 22 mistakes. Whether that translates into championship success remains to be seen. The 2026 season promises to be one of the most competitive in Formula One history. New regulations typically shuffle the competitive order, and with so many variables in play, predictions are difficult. But if the whispers from the paddock are accurate, Mercedes might just be about to remind everyone why they dominated for so long. The countdown continues. Soon we'll have real answers instead of speculation. And that's when things get truly exciting. The gearbox and suspension designs remain closely guarded secrets. These components significantly influence how the car handles and how effectively the tires work. Mercedes has always excelled at creating cars that are kind to their tires, extracting performance over long stints. If they've carried that philosophy into the 22,000 design, it could prove decisive in races where tire management matters. Teams are no longer just building the fastest car, they are building the smartest system, where the engine, battery, aerodynamics, and driver all have to operate in perfect harmony. Mercedes believes they have achieved that balance, but Formula One history shows that confidence alone means nothing until the cars hit the track. The true test will come when theory meets reality, and every assumption is pushed to its absolute limit. Another factor that cannot be ignored is how quickly rival teams can react once the true competitive picture is revealed. Even if Mercedes starts 2026 with an advantage, Formula One is a development race as much as it is a driving contest. Ferrari, Red Bull, Audi, and Honda-backed projects will be watching every lap, every data trace, and every sector time with intense focus. The moment a weakness is identified, upgrades will be rushed into production. That means any early dominance is never guaranteed to last. Mercedes may have built a strong foundation, but sustaining that advantage across an entire season will require relentless development, flawless execution, and the ability to stay one step ahead in an environment where everyone is chasing the same target. One final element worth discussing is the team culture at Mercedes. Despite the difficult recent seasons, the atmosphere at Brackley and Brixworth reportedly remains positive and focused. There's a sense of anticipation rather than anxiety. The people who work there believe they've built something special for 2026. Whether that confidence is justified will become clear soon enough. Formula One is entering a new chapter, and Mercedes intends to write themselves into the opening pages. The ingredients are there, the talent is there, the resources are there. Now, it's about execution. We'll be watching closely as the story unfolds.